everybody. It's Mary Kelly. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you today and to talk about 360 degrees of leadership. Now, we all know leadership, if you do it well, is all-encompassing. It takes over every part of your life. Great leadership means being vested in your organization, in your people, in your customers, in your suppliers, in everything around you. It also means being a good member of your community, a good person to your friends and your family, and doing the right thing by everybody around you. This is tough, and it's exhausting when there are so many factors to consider. So I'd like to start by screen sharing today and talking to you about this program I have called 360 Degrees of Leadership. Now, as you know, I was in the Navy for about 25 years, and I was fortunate to travel the globe, have the adventure, and be able to experience all kinds of different things and challenges during those years. And what I found was there are 4 areas where many people just sort of struggle a little bit as they're either trying to pivot their business into accommodating new client demands or new customer demands or dealing with supply chain challenges, whatever that looks like. And that's what this is based on. So as some of you know, this is my idea of travel in an enclosed place. I was very fortunate to be able to do boat deliveries in Hawaii. And this is the view from one of the trips that we were on one time. And it got me to thinking, because these are sailboats. And did you know that sailboats can actually, the way the keel is built for blue water sailing, that they are designed for knockdowns. And knockdown technically is when the mast and the spreaders of the mast are in the water. So you're over like almost on your side. And if you remember from, maybe if you were a kid, you had that blow up sort of clown thing with the sand on the bottom and you would punch it and it would bop back up. That's what the keel of a boat is designed to do. It's designed to right the ship in really rough waters. There are times when that mast goes all the way over and does a whole 360. And the idea is it's supposed to bop back up, kind of like that clown with the sand. That's what a good blue water sailing ship can do. But it's also very difficult because most of the time we're focused on what's in front of us and maybe just what's right in front of us. We don't tend to look all the way around. So I thought 360 degrees would be fun. Some leadership questions I would like to start with. How do you motivate your people? And then how do you keep your people meaningfully informed? And how do you maintain your team's specific focus on the goals you have for them and the goals they have for themselves? Now, many people say you can't motivate other people. They've got to be intrinsically motivated instead of extrinsically motivated. Externally motivated, intrinsically versus externally, we'll go with that. But I think that if you're a leader, you've probably come across other people who have made you feel less motivated. So if you can be less motivated, you can be more motivated. Now, how do you keep your people meaningfully informed? This is a tough one because as business leaders, it's a struggle for us to overwhelm people with things that maybe they don't care about or things that they don't really need to know versus what do they need to know to do their job so that they have that 360-degree picture. So how do we keep our people meaningfully informed? So I just want to throw this out there. Ask them. Ask your people, do you feel as though I am providing enough good information about this specific topic? What topics would you like more information on? What would be more information that you would like so that you could do your job better? Don't just say, hey, do I give you enough good information? Because you're going to get, you're going to get the bobblehead nods and you're not going to really learn anything. Now, how do you maintain your team's specific focus on specific goals? It sounds more complicated than it is. Make sure they know what those goals are. I have gone into a series of organizations in the past 12 months, and I ask team members, I say, so what are your specific goals in your job? And I get, I don't know. Well, wait a second. Doesn't your boss tell you what the goals are? No, I don't think so. Do you have sales goals? I might have sales goals. Wait a second. You can't be upset with your team for not focusing on the specific goals if they don't know what those goals are. So how do you set and clarify goals with your people? If you'll notice, we've got the 5-minute goals plan that we have talked about in some of my other programs. And the 5-minute goals plan allows you to look at what your goals are and then identify the obstacles that you might have achieving those goals, but then brainstorm on the solutions. Our brains love to focus on the solutions instead of on the problems if we give them the solutions. Otherwise, our brain just gets into that loop of obstacle. Oh, I can't do that because I can't do that because I can't do that because. That's not where we need our brains to be. And that's not where we need our people's brains to be. We want them focused on the solutions. Now, how do you hold your people accountable to your expectations? So very quickly, and you're going to have to write this down, www.productiveleaders.com/2021 success. I talked about this in Orlando. I talked about this in some of the other programs. It is the 12-month calendar. It is my gift for you today for being on this program. It is right away the gift that you have. And this helps you articulate with your team what kind of accountability you're looking for from them, what kind of expectations you have. And it's a great learning and mentoring tool as well. A 12-month business accountability planner is solid gold. How do you keep yourself accountable? Same planner, productiveleaders.com/2021 success. I hope you really like it. Send me a note and let me know if there's something I'm missing or if there's something I can add to next year's. One of the other questions I always ask folks is when you're planning for the year and you're maybe figuring out your strategic plans, do you count on or do you plan for ways to recognize people for successful work? For many people, the answer is no. They just think, well, people get a paycheck. A paycheck is not enough. A paycheck is good. That is why most people work. But most people also need your recognition, your approval, and your appreciation. So some possible challenges you might be facing right now, and I know I spoke a little bit about this at the Orlando conference, was getting customers, maintaining customers, staying current on innovative products that your customers expect you to know about, getting good customers. Some of us have had, troublesome customers, and it's been really challenging. Getting really good customers, the people you want to stay in touch with, you want to serve them in the future, all of those nice things. Complying with regulations. This is where your industry has to make sure that we are keeping ourselves where we need to be so that we don't have cumbersome regulations imposed on us. Some challenges you might have working with irritating people. And for that, I just want to ask for a little bit of gentleness. And that is sometimes we don't know what's going on in the background of other people's lives, and they may be doing their very best to help us, and maybe we just don't see it. So some people are irritating, but maybe it's because they've got another challenging situation going on. Getting parts and products can be challenging. Hiring and firing employees, always an issue. The personnel issues are always tough. And then, of course, you have to make profits. This is all part of this. So what do you do as a new or not so new leader? I've mapped this out, literally mapped this out by taking the helm, being a leader, deciphering Morse code, communicating effectively with the people around you, all about the crew, developing, promoting, and working with your people, and then mapping the course, the strategic planning you need for your best business growth. So let's start with taking the helm, being a leader. Being a leader is not about just a position of power. It's about influence and the ability to enact positive change. Your job as a leader is to show up every day and help people be a better version of themselves. Your job is not only to influence your customers into making the right choice, but it's also about inspiring the people you work with and showing up and being that position of not just the position of leadership, but it's also about influencing and inspiring other people in the best possible way. Now, this has been a tough time for sure. Leaders understand that change is inevitable and it's constant. Leaders need to look at change as exciting opportunities. And here's what I mean. If I was to ask you the question right now, give me some words that describe people who don't like change. You might come up with words like stagnant, old-fashioned, stuck in their ways, cranky, all kinds of negative words when we talk about people who don't like change. And then we talk about people who do like change. And the people who do like change, innovative, exciting, forward-thinking, motivated. All of a sudden it becomes positive words. And yet for most people, change is difficult. Now, there's a J curve of accountability, which means that where our current performance is, if we're trying to hold people accountable, initially morale could initially decline, and then it improves over time. The J curve of change is much the same way. It starts out with denial, active resistance, and that's that down part, and then it moves into the exploration phase and the commitment phase. This is normal and natural because people, frankly, struggle with change. Now, leaders realize that leadership styles are going to vary according to the situation and the needs of their people. I get a lot of people calling me saying, how do I lead millennials? How do I lead Gen Zers? How do I lead fill in the blank? And that fill in the blank is a demographic. It's not the individual. And I like to gently point out that leaders lead people as individuals. They don't lead demographics. And that's where I think a lot of people get caught up in what I should be doing instead of just having the conversation with that person. Hey, Frank, it seems like you've been pretty preoccupied lately and not very focused on work. Hey, what's going on? Is there something I can help you with? When I was teaching school, and I've taught school for over 3 decades, I could tell when a student was just not very focused. And I would say, hey, hang on for a second. I just wanted to ask you a question. You seem a little bit unfocused, more unfocused than normal. And it just makes me want to ask the question, is there something bothering you that I can help with? Again, you have to be careful not to pry, but I wanted them to know that I cared about their situation. I cared about, maybe they were having a problem and maybe I could help. And I had one case where it was a young lady and she was just really, really upset. And what had happened was she had bought a car very recently, and it was from a used car dealer. And this was when I was teaching at the Air Force Academy. And when she drove the car back on base, they have the guard there and you have to show your ID before they let you in. Well, that day they had a canine unit there. And you all know I love dogs, so I'm always kind of excited when the canine units are there. So here she is. She has just put down, I think $10,000 or something on this car. And she goes to drive through the gate, and they stop her car and the dogs come out to sniff her car. And sure enough, the dogs react. So the problem was apparently somebody who had driven that car before her had contaminated it with meth, and they impounded the car. So she'd had the car for less than an hour. The car's now impounded. Normally, in a case like that, the owner of the car gets arrested, of course, because it's possession. And so here she is. She's 20 years old. It's her first car ever. She's absolutely distraught, doesn't know what to do, doesn't know if she's going to wind up in jail. I mean, she's terrified. I said, okay, wait a second. I think we can solve this problem. Let me get hold of security. Let me get hold of your company officer, and we're gonna fix this problem. So we can't fix every problem, and sometimes they are outside of the realm of work. But I just have to tell you that because I'll say it, I'm a little bit older, like a lot older, and I've been teaching for a long time. And because I had the military experience, because I'd been a chief of police, I knew the right language to use in order to get the car dealership to come back, get the car, refund her money, and have it a good outcome for everybody. And she wound up with a different car. But we have to realize that our leadership styles have to vary. So if she had just said to me, well, I got arrested for meth this weekend, my reaction may have been very different. I take kind of a dim view of that as a former chief of police. So the fact that she let me know the whole story made it a lot easier for me to react in the right way. So my point is, sometimes we react when we need to just be listening. And we need to understand that what motivates one person may not motivate another person. Everybody has different intrinsic and external motivators. I think extrinsic is a word. I think I can use that. So what motivates one person may not motivate somebody else. If you want to recognize one person for doing a great job in front of everybody, they may love it. Another person may be horrified and they will not want to go to work that day. So we have to make sure that our leadership is adapted to the individual. Leaders understand that people will follow someone who is very competent and has expertise in that area if that leader also respects and appreciates other people. In the book called Why Leaders Fail, which I am doing that program for fourth quarter, and mostly the focus there is on how to continue to build trust in your organization. David Horsager, who just wrote another new book on trust, liked our section on trust, so I felt really good about that. And part of this is all about making sure that people feel respected and appreciated in the workplace. People want to follow competent leaders. They want to follow people with expertise. So that begs the question, do you feel appreciated at work? Do you feel appreciated enough at work? Most people say no. And then sometimes I say, well, would a trip to Hawaii make your life better? And they say, well, sure. But so would cash, just a little bit of cash, or maybe just a gift card, or maybe just a sincere thank you from my boss. Most people want to be appreciated. And when you're saying thank you to people, make sure you recognize them for a specific action. Don't just say, hey, thanks everybody, that was great. Nobody knows what they did right. They're very confused. It's kind of like telling the dog it's a good puppy when the dog is like, okay, I'm a good puppy, I've been sleeping. Wait, what? Do you just want me to sleep? I don't understand. When you're rewarding people, also please make sure that it does not come at the expense of other people. I have been the proud recipient of the Teacher of the Year award. And I'm the one who says don't have Teacher of the Year awards, because everybody else is looking at that going, she's not any better than me. How come she got this and I didn't? Or worse, when you have the Teacher of the Year award and you say, well, Joe won the Teacher of the Year award, but oh, it's okay, Mary, you were our second choice. Well, wait a second, that doesn't make me feel better at all. It comes at the expense of other people. And then what happens is the people you want to be working together all of a sudden are fragmented because they feel as though there's a competition. And if you're going to give someone a reward or a gift or a gift card, please make sure it's meaningful for that person. For example, you don't want to give someone who doesn't have a pet a gift card to a pet store. That sounds really basic, but you don't give somebody who is a dairy-free vegan a gift certificate to a steak restaurant. It sounds silly, but I've seen people who hate sports get hockey tickets as a thank you. Wait a second, that doesn't help at all. So when you're rewarding people, just remember, reward for a specific action. Hey, and it doesn't have to be public. Hey, Hank, you did a great job with Mrs. Jones the other day. She had that very difficult situation. She didn't know how to attach the new rig. You were so patient with her until she could do it herself. You really helped her gain a sense of confidence, and she felt so comfortable working for you. Hey, nice job with that. That's what we're talking about. So thank your staff, thank your clients, and not just when they make the buy. Thank your staff when they're doing something right. And make sure you're thanking not just your superstar. It's easy to thank your superstar all the time, but thank everybody. Let them know when they're doing a good job. Most of us wake up every morning and we are grateful, but we don't always say thank you. So think about doing something when you're feeling grateful and then actually do it and tailor those thank yous. I'm fond of using purple cards, as some of you have seen. I use purple cards for everything. They are credit card sized cards. And it's just, dear Melissa, thank you so much for throwing a great conference. You are great at all of the details and making sure everything gets done. And I really appreciate your efforts. Very sincerely, Mary. How hard was that? And especially if it's in a little card, it just gives you the prompts you need. Now, one of the things we also tell our special operators, our SEAL teams, our Force Recon Marines, our Rangers, our Delta Force, and our PJs, is have a sense of humor, especially when things go wrong, because something is always going to go wrong and you have a choice in how you react. Humor is contagious in the face of difficulty. Calm is contagious in the face of difficulty. But keep in mind, no plan ever goes well always. And a lot of times it's just a struggle. Now, leaders also understand that subordinates need to be allowed to try and to fail. People learn and they grow from making mistakes. We know that. Successful companies create an environment where it's safe to make mistakes. I would rather have people on my team try something new and fail than not innovate. I want people to be right on the brink of failure, not because I want them to fail, but because I want them to be trying. I want them to be innovative. And I want them to drag me along with and say, Mary, this is what we got to do. Hey, we saw this with someone else. This is what we think would be great. I want to be pushing the envelope. And because of that, I need to make sure that my people don't operate from a place of fear. If my people are so worried about making a mistake than innovating, then I'm not going to get innovation. And this is where I think a lot of people are operating in such a fear-based organization that people just show up, do their job, and go home. They don't want to innovate. They don't want to get into any spotlight because that can lead to trouble. The places where I've seen the most innovation are the places where people feel very free to speak their mind, have ideas, and their ideas are heard. Now, leaders also don't shoot the messenger. Great leaders want to know about problems so they can fix the problems. I've worked for bosses, and you probably have too, that if you came in and said, hey, the cash register now is not working very well, and then they blow a gasket, and you're like, wait a second, I'm just telling you about a problem. We haven't been able to fix it. I'm telling you, I'm going to call the repair people, and they're spending 5 minutes ranting and raving about nobody can ever do anything right and blah, blah. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I'll just let it stay broken. If you don't want to hear about the fix, then I just don't have to care. And that's the problem. When you tend to get angry with people when they make mistakes, they are going to freeze when there's a mistake, like a bunny in the grass. This is an actual picture I took of an actual bunny, as you can see. And clearly its mama had said, if you see people or you get scared, you just freeze in the grass. And there he was, I'm in the grass, you can't see me. Some people try to hide at work like this bunny. They just show up. They are just hoping to hide so that they don't get any negative attention, and then they go home. Leaders understand that the easiest way for them to lose respect is to try to be popular instead of decisive. Being a great leader means you're going to make some decisions that are going to make some people unhappy, and that some people are not going to like your decisions. Some people confuse being a great leader and being a likable and respected leader with making decisions that make people popular. And this is a problem. If you're making decisions because you don't want to ruffle feathers, it's probably a bad decision. If you're making decisions because you want to be liked at work, it may not be the right decision. Make the right decision for the organization and the people who work there and the people you serve. Now, leaders know that the person communicating, and we're going to talk more about this in the communication section, if you're the one doing the communication, that is on you. And you've got to make sure that people understand the spirit with which it's communicated. In times of virtual communication, it is very easy to take something out of context. It is easy to misconstrue something. It is easy to make assumptions about what other people understood. If that other person does not understand what you clearly intended, that responsibility 100% is on you for not making it more clear. Leaders understand that they need to actively seek out and listen to the concerns and the issues of their subordinates. But that doesn't mean you need to coddle them. No, they're employees. They need you to hear their concerns. And sometimes you say, okay, I understand your concern, but we're going to go in this different direction anyway. Thank you for raising this issue, but we're going to do this. And they need to understand that as a boss, sometimes their concerns is not the number one priority of the organization. There's a recent case where a Trader Joe's employee was unhappy with his direct supervisor and was complaining about things in the store and said, oh, we need to be able to throw customers out who aren't wearing masks. Well, but what if they've got a medical condition and they can't wear masks? And he said we should, be imposing more safety things with COVID on our customers. And he said a lot of things in the vein of, with it kind of guised as safety concerns, but really the issue was he didn't like his management. So he was complaining about everything. So they fired him. So then he took that letter where they basically said, you don't share our values, because apparently there'd been other issues. And he posted that everywhere, and he encouraged people to boycott Trader Joe's. Okay, so here's the problem. Trader Joe's, as the organization, can't discuss an individual's hiring or firing situation without getting into a lawsuit. So they just kind of have to hope that people can read through the lines and see that this was not one of their better employees. And in an at-will state, you have the right to fire people whenever you want. You don't need a cause. So sometimes concerns are valid and sometimes they are just something else. Real leaders differentiate between them, and it can be tough. Leaders need to clearly communicate expectations and requirements, which are reinforced through policy and practice. There is nothing worse than having a policy and you're the one violating it. Go ahead, in the news, look at the past 12 months. There are all kinds of people who've been elected to office and they passed a law, and then the next day they were out violating that law. They ate in that restaurant, they got their hair done, they fill in the blank, they did whatever that was. And when you're telling everybody the rules apply to everybody but me, you should not be surprised then when you lose respect. So leaders over communicate, and again, we're going to talk about more communication, but we over communicate when employees feel as though they know what management knows. People like that. They like knowing what the boss knows. So over communicate, and then communicate some more. And again, the responsibility of the communication is always, always, always on you, the person doing the communication. When I talk to leaders, I say, look, especially if you're just starting out, if you're taking over a new job, if you're taking over a business, or you're trying to reinvigorate your business, relaunch it, reignite it, re-energize it, re-engage your people, if you're going to be good at one thing as you do this, be good at communication, because it overrides a lot of other issues. It makes things a lot easier. Leaders also encourage networking throughout an organization to better enable people to work together. I have worked in organizations where the organization deliberately kept marketing away from sales. Wait, what? Or they kept the HR people away from operations. Wait, what? Why would you do that? The HR people need to know the kind of people operations needs. The salespeople need to know what the marketing people are saying. The marketing people need to know what the salespeople are promising. We need to be able to work together. And that means getting people together to say, hey, I had a situation with one of our clients or our customers, and they said, you said this. So what did they mean when they said this? Or where did this come from? I have shown major organizations I really like, businesses I patronize, and they would have something on their website, and then I would say, hey, I would like, this deal, and they're like, we don't have a deal like that. I'm like, yes, you do. And they're like, no, we don't. Well, let me pull up my computer and show you. And then I show it to them. They're like, oh, I guess we do have that. People need to know what's going on throughout their organization so that we can best help them work together. Now, leaders also need to be aware of rumors, and they need to quickly communicate the truth. In any organization, there's bound to be rumors, and especially when things are uncertain, people are going to speculate. They're going to assume. Real leaders get ahead of those rumors and quickly tell the truth. This happens when people are not getting enough good communication from their leaders. Leaders make sure that the people surrounding them, they're what I call the moat dragons, are there to help rather than block information. Sometimes senior people will have people who act as moat dragons, people who act as guards, who prevent you from finding out what's actually going on. This happens mostly in very senior organizations where you have to go through 3 or 4 people to get to the boss. The danger with that is every single time somebody goes to give you information, if it gets filtered through that other person or a series of people, you're not getting the actual data. You are getting how it is being perceived throughout these chains of hierarchy. And then the other problem there is if you make it tough for people to give you information, pretty soon they're going to stop giving you information. So these are what I call the moat dragons. These are the people who kind of circle around the folks on the inside of the castle, and they filter information. And this can be very costly in business. Leaders know that employees prefer information rather than uncertainty. Every time, all the time. Some of my leaders say, but I don't want to give them bad news and I don't really have a complete picture. Doesn't matter. Your employees, your people, they can handle bad news. Your clients, if you say, hey, we can get that part to you in 60 days. Then they can say, but wait, I was looking for it tomorrow. And you say, you know what? Supply chains are moving as quickly as they can. And I'm excited that I can get it for you in 60 days rather than 90. They would rather know than not know. If you say, well, I'll get it to you as soon as I can. Well, when is that? Well, I just don't know. That's not a great answer. Give people as much information as you possibly can. Now, leaders must be both genuine and sincere. Lip service and false promises are the fastest way to kill any kind of organization or initiative. There's a lot of talk now about being authentic. Some people view authentic as just being raw or vulnerable, or sometimes very direct and kind of rude. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you say these are our core values, then that's what you live by. Those are the values that are part of your entire organization. Don't promise things you can't deliver. For example, I was in an organization where we were walking through the building. It was in a large city, and I was walking with the CEO. People were walking by us. Hey, Mr. Smith. Good morning, Mr. Smith. How are you, Mr. Smith? And he ignored him. So then I felt kind of like, if you've ever been out to dinner with somebody and they're kind of mean to the wait staff, and then you feel like you have to overcompensate. So I'm like stumbling over myself. Oh, hey, good morning. How are you? I hope everything's going. And I was like, what is with this guy? We get up to his office, and we close the door. And I looked at him. I said, what was that? He's like, what? I said, on the way to your office, 5 people greeted you, said good morning, and you just ignored them. And he says, well, they don't pay me to care about my employees. I was like, wait a second. You're the guy at the top. They absolutely pay you to care about your employees. Your people are your most important asset. At least that's what's on the sign, in the hallway. And he says, well, yeah, but I don't really like people. So maybe I could just fake it. Wow. That is the problem that employees will see right through. So that becomes an issue. Leaders need to occasionally ask, am I motivating or am I micromanaging? We've all had those bosses who thought they were motivating, and guess what? They were just getting in our way. One of the examples I give is, let's say you are trying to get a report done and your boss comes over and stands over your shoulder, and you're trying to get work done and you're looking up at him, and you're trying to get work done and you're looking up at him, and they're standing there going, type the, to, a, and they're micromanaging you as you're trying to put information into the computer. This is not making you work faster. All it's doing is slowing you down and irritating you. That's micromanaging. So motivating would be your boss coming by saying, do you have everything you need to get this report done? And can you give me an update? That's a little bit more motivating than standing there and trying to get into what it is you're doing. Leaders also need to stay out of the way and let their people do their job well. That's what I'm talking about. Decide, delegate, and disappear. Now, some people take that disappearance act a little too much, a little bit too much to heart. It doesn't mean that you disappear entirely. It means you give people the opportunity to do their jobs well. This communicates trust and confidence. So let's talk a little bit about the crew, about developing and promoting and working with your people. So leaders understand that getting and keeping the right people in the organization is crucial to the success of the company. Absolutely, yes. We as leaders, I'm fond of saying, hire talent wherever you find it. That would be the best possible thing to do if you possibly can. Sometimes that works great. Sometimes you have to hire the talent that is available to you, and then you have to train that talent. But I'm a big fan of finding the best possible talent you can and keeping that talent. This is also an economic theory called the theory of efficiency wages. The theory of efficiency wages says exactly that. Find and hire the best people you possibly can, pay them as much as you can, because they've got to decide at the end of the day where their loyalty lies. So for example, let's say I hire Sally for $50 an hour and I hire Sarah for $10 an hour. And it's Sunday afternoon and I need 4 hours of work done. So I call up Sally and I say, hey, can I get 4 hours of work from you on Sunday at $50 an hour? That's $200. She says, oh yeah, that'd be great. That's fantastic. And I can just trust her to do it. She's motivated. She's going to get it done. No problem. I call up my other worker who's getting $10 an hour. I say, hey, can I get 4 hours on Sunday? And she's like, yeah, I was going to go play tennis. I think I'm still going to go play tennis. Even the best people have to make choices. And this is why you pay your people as much as you possibly can. You pay them what they're worth. I'm not saying you necessarily overpay them, but make them feel appreciated, because they will have a sense of loyalty and a sense that they are in fact worth it. Leaders hire the most talented people they can find and compensate them as well as they can to keep them for as long as they can. Boom, the theory of efficiency wages. Leaders take an interest in and responsibility for the professional development of their team. 71% of millennials right now, folks, say that they will leave an organization if they are not personally and professionally developed in 2 years. So right away, when you've got a new hire, teach them about the job, teach them what they need to do to be successful, set expectations, hold them accountable. And then after 30 days, start reviewing other areas where they can be professionally developed so that they can become even better leaders. That's what you want. I believe that every single person at every part of your organization should be a leader. Every single person should consider themselves a leader. Every single person should feel as though, gosh, if I owned this company, these are the things I would do to make it even better. And that's what I'm talking about. So please don't skimp on training that adds value, increases human capital, and provides for a better outcome. This is an actual live fire in Jordan. And we do in the military, we try to train the way we fight so that you're not surprised by things, so that we train when it's hot and when it's cold and all of that. A friend of mine who is in the CIA says, I go to the range and I fire my weapons at the range when it's pouring rain, when it's snowing, because you don't always get a perfect scenario. You don't always get perfect weather. You don't always get the perfect time to work. So training all the time, even when it's difficult, even when the circumstances are not perfect, that's okay. Training is training. These are my parents. I do have some. This is on their 50th wedding anniversary. And doesn't my dad look excited? So a few years ago, my parents were at this age where they just started to have some medical issues, and they started complaining about their medical issues. And some of you have had parents who have been through this. It's tough to deal with aging parents. I feel so fortunate to have my parents with me. They did go through COVID in December and came out of it, thankfully, but the recovery is still really, really rough on them. And so part of this, as they started getting into this phase of their life, we said, hey, you all haven't had a dog in a long time, and you're just sitting around looking at each other. Maybe it's time to get a dog. We said, it's time maybe to get a dog. And my parents said, we don't want a dog. And I said, sure you do. Maybe a dog is a good idea. They said, we absolutely don't want a dog. We're not getting a dog. We're not getting a dog. Enter Bailey. They got Bailey from a shelter. Bailey is cute. He is blind in one eye, and he suffered severe separation anxiety, so that every time something would happen and one of my parents would leave the room, he would have a little accident, and then he would roll in it. And he's a very, very cute puppy. And well, I guess he was about 3 when they got him. But this separation anxiety was problematic. And my parents in their 80s, they couldn't wash a dog 4 or 5 times a day. It just got to be too much to them. So they call me Mary the Dog Whisperer. No, coming in to save the day. I just showed up. I'm like, oh boy. And so I thought, well, maybe they weren't taking him outside. They were. Maybe they weren't spending enough time outside with him. They were. So what do? I said, well, Mom, Dad, I hate to break the news to you, but I think Bailey needs a little friend. I think he's going to need a little friend. My parents said, we absolutely do not want another dog. We don't want another dog. We don't want another dog. They did the right thing. They went back to the same shelter where he was, and they found the little dog in the crate next to him. And apparently they've been little doggy friends. So they bring her home. Enter Lily. Now, Lily was a little hot mess. She had just never had a bath. She had been used for breeding in a puppy mill. I mean, poor little thing. She had just really, really struggled. And they bring her home, and suddenly his problems have disappeared. But now they've got a problem with Lily. And as my mother said, she says, Lily doesn't mind. I call her name, she doesn't answer. She goes outside in the backyard. I say, come, she doesn't come. I say, come sit for dinner. She doesn't sit. I said, well, Mom, Lily probably has never been trained. Did you teach her name? Lily, here's a treat. Lily, here's a treat. Lily, here's a treat. Lily, come, show her the treat. Bring her in from outside. Good come, Lily, put her on a leash. Have her run around the backyard. Say the word come, give a gentle tug on the leash and give her a treat. When you want her to sit, you have a treat in your hand. You get the dog close to you on the leash, and you push her little bottom down to the ground as you hold the treat up. So nose goes up, butt goes down. You give her a good treat. Good sit, Lily, good sit. I said, Mom, did you train her name? Did you teach her how to come? Did you show her how to sit? And my mother says, no, she's 3. She should know. This is what I call the Lily principle. The Lily principle says, we think that because we hired somebody maybe from another store like ours or another company like ours, that they should know, that they should have the training, knowledge, and experience that we want them to have in order to be successful. And we just can't make those assumptions. We just can't. The Lilies of the world are out there. We think they should know, and because they don't, we get frustrated with them. So we've just got to take a step back when it comes time to training and make sure that we are helping people become their very best and train them properly. Now, leaders look for ways to promote their employees, whether it's within their own company or somewhere else. And this is what a lot of people say. But what if I give my employees great training and they leave? And of course, the rest of it. But what if you don't train them and they stay? So for part of this, you've possibly seen me use the 5-minute career plan. And this is, hey, what do I get? This is a conversation you can have with your employees. And you can say, hey, what do you get excited about at work? What do you like? And then say, fill in the blank. I get excited when I talk about this part of the RV business. And what do you get energy from? Well, I love working on, kitchens in RVs. I just love how everything fits together. It gives me energy and it's like a puzzle. I love that. And then my perfect workday involves completing a sale. I love the thrill of the sale. Satisfaction. The best part of my week happens when people call me up and say they had the best vacation ever, and it was because of me. Moving forward, I can move my career forward in this job by doing more of what? What do I want to learn about? What do I want to think about? Who do I want to interact with? And who can I ask questions to so that I can become even better at this? And then who can I help? Now, a lot of our folks may be new to our organization. They don't know that they can help other people. And maybe they don't feel comfortable helping other people because they don't feel as though they're as far forward as they actually are. And for that, I say, you know what? Wherever you are 2 steps ahead of somebody else. And that means you reach back behind you and you bring them up in front of you and you give them a little nudge forward and you help them. And that's what we have to do. Now, leaders are aware that individual personality types have strengths and weaknesses. Great leaders know how to use the strengths of their people to build a cohesive and a strong team that respects each other's talents and abilities. We all have different talents and abilities. We don't have to make weaknesses into strengths. We don't have to do that. What great leaders do is they figure out strengths and then they capitalize on those strengths. And remember what I said in the beginning about making sure you lead people, not just demographics. Sometimes we put people into a demographic and we make assumptions. Hello, I'm a millennial, and sometimes we make assumptions about that. So I just want to let you know that this is a picture of a Navy ship, and this is what it looks like when we have 18 people living in this small space. And we do it with the average age on a U.S. aircraft carrier of 19 and a half years old. I'm used to dealing with young people. These are the young people I get to deal with, but not everybody sees it that way. Some people make assumptions about people who are older, and they think, oh gosh, maybe they're not going to be able to keep up, or whatever the assumptions are. And some people think that, maybe they're not as interested in work. Interestingly enough, the biggest addition to the labor force is people over 55. And some people make assumptions about people of a certain age. And some people say, guess what? I'm not sure that I want to give the social media project to the person in my organization who's already a grandmother. But guess what? What you don't know is she's got 30,000 followers on Instagram, and she's active on Clubhouse, and she is the person you need to have. So sometimes we just make assumptions, right? And we need to not do that. With any individual, if you've got a problem, fix the problem as quickly as possible. If you can't fix the problem, fire the problem. All you're doing by keeping problem employees around is telling your other employees that you don't care about them, that you don't respect them enough to make the tough decisions. And if you've got a problem employee and you take your time firing them, once you do fire them, the rest of your team breathes a sigh of relief and they're like, finally, we can't believe you didn't do that before. Now, loyalty can be cemented or lost in a single event or a gesture. Promises to employees are integral to the leader and the company's credibility. I remember the very few promises my bosses ever gave me, but I really remember the ones who made a promise and didn't keep it. So I had one boss who was absolutely fantastic, promised me when I got into an organization, said, look, I know you were brought into this organization at this level when you should be at this level. He said, I promise you in a year, you will be here and I expect you to be here. That meant everything to me. Just him understanding what I was thinking when I was coming to the organization. But what really meant something to me was when he took me from the position I was brought into, leapfrogged over that next one and went to that next level. Because he said, you know what, I promised you and I'm giving you a shot. That meant everything. I'm still loyal to that person. He calls me up today, needs a kidney, he's got it. And we found this to be true in the book, Why Leaders Fail, that again, I've talked to you about a few times, came out with Peter Stark. He's a leadership expert out of San Diego. We researched over 100,000 employees and we asked them questions like, hey, what makes it tough for you to do your job? Broken promises and loss of trust were in the top 2. Now, leaders know that a sense of importance and genuine appreciation for employees' contributions are more important than a paycheck. I touched on that before. People will do things for you when they have a sense of loyalty to you and when you have a sense of loyalty to them. We know that employees do not quit jobs. They applied for that job. They interviewed for that job. They said they were going to do all these things for that job. They knew what the salary was walking into that job. Employees don't quit jobs. They quit bosses. They quit bosses who break promises, who don't appreciate them and don't respect them and don't listen to their ideas. So let's talk about strategic planning for business growth. And you know I love business growth. Leaders think both long-term and strategically. Your people's job is maybe to do the day-to-day operations, and maybe your job is to figure out not just next quarter and next year, but in 5 years, in 10 years. What is the succession plan for your business? What's the overall strategy? Where are you going? And what's going to happen moving forward? Leaders know that having a strategic plan and being able to use that plan relieves uncertainty and stress during difficult times. Your people want to know that you've got a plan to move forward, especially when things are tough. Folks, it is easy to be the leader when things are easy. You just show up. Everybody's doing everything perfectly. Your team is operating perfectly. You have no problems to solve. Everything is perfect. Doesn't take any leadership at all. People need leaders when times are tough. Part of this is helping your people stay productive. You've seen my 5-minute productivity plan before. A few things I just want to touch on. Take control of the outstanding projects to get them off your plate. Sometimes you might need help with this. Sometimes your people might need help with the projects they're working on. Ask the question, hey, do you need any help to get this done? Do you want any help to get this done? If you had help, would it get done faster? And that's a question to ask, because sometimes the answer is no. Putting a committee to attack a problem is not always the answer. And then the question is, who can I ask for help? I've used the term SDS before, SDS, stop doing stupid. To be more effective at the important things, we have to stop doing the things that don't matter. So think for just a second about the things that you do on a daily basis that take up time that maybe you don't need to do. And then ask your people, say, hey, what are you doing that's taking up time that maybe we don't need to be doing? And your people will tell you. Now, we all have people and events and those unexpected things that pop up that take up our time. But sometimes other people impose their timelines into our lives and they waste our time. They throw us off our schedule. It means that we're not able to complete a project because somebody just showed up and they've got their own problem. These are time vampires. Maybe they want to tell you about a problem their child is having. Maybe they want to tell you about another coworker. Maybe they want to complain about a project. If you're the person in charge, or even if you're not, find a way to channel that. Say, hey, I've got to go in 7 minutes. What can I do to help you in the next 7 minutes? Put a timeline on it. It's a nice way to stop interruptions. Or say, hey, I'm working on a deadline here. Is there anything I can do to solve this problem right now? Or are we just looking for someone to listen? If they say, oh, I was just complaining or just venting, that's when you say, great. I'm sorry, but can we please catch up later? Or you can just interrupt them and say, hey, thanks for stopping by. It was good talking to you, and then start working again. Whatever you can do. And again, this is not the same thing as one of your employees coming to you with a real problem. This is you making sure that people who just want to waste your time are not able to just waste your time. Now, do what you do best. We all tend to gravitate toward doing those jobs that we like or are good at doing. Ask your folks, do I have a comparative advantage in this task? Am I the best person to do this? Can somebody else do it better or at a lower opportunity cost? If you're the boss and you want to make $200 an hour, then maybe it's time to give up those jobs that you can give somebody else and pay them $15 an hour. So think about things that you can outsource. And then I'm fond of just 5-minute jobs. Get some quick wins on the table. Think about, what can I do right now in 5 minutes that will take less than 5 minutes of effort? Return a phone call, walk the dog, do some push-ups, send a card, maybe do some social media posts, whatever you need to be doing. Maybe just take out the trash, something that you can get something done to give yourself a quick win. We all need quick wins. It gives us a burst of dopamine or serotonin or some kind of happy hormone that allows us to keep the momentum going. Now, many of us as bosses, as leaders, we show up and we're like hummingbirds. We walk into work and all of a sudden there's 15 different problems and we just fly from one problem to another all day long. And we never get the time to be strategic in what it is we're doing. My solution for this is the daily productivity plan. I've talked about it before. I've got mine sitting here right with me. Not kidding. I do one every single day. And this keeps me on track to make sure I'm doing what I need to do. Also, the 5-minute employee engagement plan is another one of the 5-minute plans that are in the vault at productiveleaders.com/2021 success. Because remember this, according to Gallup, less than 33% of Americans are considered engaged in their jobs. Engaged employees are enthusiastic about their work. They get excited about the projects they work on, and they're happy to be serving your customers in your current environment. Disengaged employees, they're not worried about the organizational vision and mission and goals, or even their own performance. As a result, organizational growth and outcomes are delayed, and there's less creativity. Morale decreases. This is problematic. So we ask questions such as, what can leaders do to facilitate engagement in their workers? And this is where sitting down with them and having these conversations, our organizational vision is this. You help us achieve this vision with these goals because you provide this. We rely on you, use that word, we rely on you to do what? Leaders also keep employees motivated and challenged by asking questions such as, what strengths do you want to utilize more? And then talk about their strengths. Are there any specific projects we're doing here that you would like to be involved in? Are there any specific things that you'd like to learn more about? Do you want more responsibility? With what? And do you want less responsibility? What would you prefer not doing? Sometimes people say, well, I don't like doing that part of the job. And you go, well, sorry, that's kind of part of the job. But it's nice to know that you don't like that. And maybe we can help you spend more time doing something else. So some of the questions, again, listed here, and some of you are listening to this, would be, what would you like more training on? What would you like to learn next? Is there anyone here you'd like to learn from? And what can we do to make the workplace more enjoyable for you? If you were your own boss, what would you change? Are we challenging you enough? Are there any tools or resources that would help you do your job better? And we as leaders have to provide feedback quickly. This is really important. Feedback, again, back to a puppy. If the puppy doesn't know they're not supposed to go to the bathroom in the house, then they won't understand. And if you come back 5 hours later and they went to the bathroom in the house, they're confused as to why you're upset. You need to let them know right away. And what you say is outside, outside, and you bring them outside so that they associate going to the bathroom with being outside. I'm not saying your employees are like dogs, but I've had some bosses that at my yearly performance review said, well, 11 months ago, you made a mistake on this project. I was like, well, why didn't you tell me at the time? Well, I didn't want to upset you. Wait a second, what? How am I supposed to improve if you're not going to tell me? That was more frustrating to me than anything. You know that I oftentimes update resources. And so whenever you do decide to review this, please, I invite you to go to kiwilive.com. There's a series of ever-changing resources there. It's Kiwi Live. The keyword to sign in is dog. And that's a different vault that I use all the time. Okay. Leaders know their people need the authority to carry out the responsibilities assigned to them. Giving someone a job without the authority to successfully achieve the task sets the person and the project up for failure. With the responsibility needs to be the authority. Leaders have to trust managers to develop the processes necessary to achieve the strategic goals. And again, you might be the person who's developing the processes, but do it with your people. Say, how do we do this? What's the best way? What do you recommend? And then listen for the answers. Leaders pay attention, but don't obsess over small details. They remain committed to the agenda and they remain focused on the strategic perspective. But having said that, I need you to know that small details do matter when they matter. For example, there is a brand of shampoo that I like. It comes in a coconut flavor. I like the smell of coconut. I think it's nice. And I love the shampoo and I love the conditioner that goes with it, but I will never buy it again. And here's why. You can't get it out of the bottle. The pumps that come with the shampoo and the conditioner bottles that I like in my shower, because there's a little shelf for them and they fit perfectly, should work perfectly, except the pumps don't work. I have now, and I thought, well, maybe I just got a bad pump. So I bought the shampoo. Nope, that pump didn't work either. Then I thought, well, maybe I just got a bad batch of these. So I went to a different store, purchased them again. Nope, the pumps don't work. I go online. It turns out I'm not the only person who's got this problem with the pumps not working with this shampoo and conditioner series. It's not terribly expensive. It is not going to break their bank knowing that I am not going to buy their shampoo. But for me, it's a loss. So think about the small things that prevent your people from giving you money. That's the whole reason we're in business, is to serve our customers and make a living by doing it. And if we make it hard for people to get our product, in my case, out of the bottle, then we're not really serving our customers. I did not feel well served by this company. And not only that, they're a big company. Do you think I'm ever going to buy anything with their product name on it again? I will not. Leaders look for great ideas everywhere, from all people and in all departments and in all venues. Everyone has good ideas. So just because that person doesn't work in that department doesn't mean they don't have a good idea. I love ideas. I love ideas from wherever they come from. Leaders are constantly asking, what activities are we doing that waste time and resources? And then we identify what to stop doing as well as what to do to go forward. This is where when people say, well, what do I need to grow my business? I say, what are you willing to stop doing that's not working so that you can focus on the things that are going to grow your business and push things forward? Knowing what to stop doing is as important as knowing what to do next. And as I mentioned in the productivity sheet, SDS, stop doing stupid. Stop doing things that don't matter. Stop doing things that other people can do at a lower opportunity cost. Now, leaders keep perspective. Leaders know the difference between problems and inconveniences. A problem is somebody's life is at stake. A problem is a major safety issue. A problem could threaten your business. An inconvenience, okay, so somebody does something stupid, they knock some stuff off a shelf. Okay, it's an inconvenience. A few things break. Okay, it's going to cost a little money, but it's not the end of the world. Great leaders don't get upset over the little things, because they want to focus on the big things. They know the difference between what they can solve and what they should be solving and little things that are just going to happen. Leaders constantly strive to find and fix problems in their business practices and in their processes. They constantly wake up every single day and say, how can I make it better? What do I need to do to make it better? Now, leaders also look for ways to take advantage of new ideas, especially when you bring somebody new into the organization. Your new people see things totally fresh. So rather than inundate them with, hey, this is the way we do it because we've always done it this way, say, hey, this is kind of how we do it. And at the end of today, that very first onboarding day, I can't tell you how important that is. Say, hey, one of the reasons we hired you is because we think you've got a great perspective. So where do you see areas of improvement? Because once we've been in the system for a while, we get so used to it, we just don't see it. I'm guilty of that in my own house. Somebody said, my sister, she says, you could move your furniture around, it would look better. I'm like, really? Never occurred to me because I'm so used to it. I don't even think to make the change. That's what I'm talking about. Leaders know they cannot succeed in a vacuum. They have to stay an integral part of their community, and they have to encourage their employees to do the same. We want to be great stewards of our community as well. Our reputations are huge, and we want to make sure that we are active and vibrant in the community. It doesn't mean you have to give to every single cause. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that occasionally you show up, and when you do show up, you do the right thing. So it has been absolutely my pleasure to be with you again today. We get to have a couple of these throughout the year. Some of you saw some of them last year. It is all new and different information. So with that, I want to say thank you. If there was something that was not clear, please go ahead and email me directly. I will answer it at mary@productiveleaders.com. If you've got just a question or looking for extra resources, productiveleaders.com/free has several of the changing resources as well. And then if you go to productiveleaders.com/blog, you will see my weekly blog. So thank you so much. I will see you next time. Have a great day.